Ladies and gentlemen, live from Axis, Farai Muvuti, your host at SAT Interviews. Today I'm with Joseph Kabakeza, all the way from the High Commission of Rwanda here in London. And guess what? We are discussing Africa, and Joseph Kabakeza is an interesting fella in this particular instance. He's the first consul here, of course, at the local embassy in the UK, focusing on issues relating to trade, understanding fully and fundamentally the importance of collaboration between the African community and equally the Caribbean community from an international standpoint. So we're going to dive in straight into the discussion. Welcome, Joseph. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Right, great. So Joseph, listen, I'm not going to waste your time. You have been here preaching the good gospel of the collaboration between the Caribbean community and the African business community. My question to you, where are we so far as Rwanda?
As Rwanda, I think we are getting closer because Rwanda has always been trying to promote these people-to-people connections, but also business-to-business connections. And in terms of Caribbean, from the debates yesterday, we see there is a strong connection from culture, from history. But now the part we are looking at is how can we really make this trade component live between the Caribbean and the African continent. And with Rwanda, we are really looking forward to making this get to another step.
So, I mean, earlier this year, Rwanda's head of state, His Excellency Paul Kagame, traveled to the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that journey and what came off it. Because we've heard the talk about collaboration, we've heard the talk about building this bridge between the diaspora of the Caribbean community, which is related to our African history and continent. What has become of that? What was the result of that particular engagement?
Yes, our president was in the Caribbean in 2022, mm-hmm. Just prior to Rwanda hosting CHOGM in June. And the president visited a number of countries in the Caribbean. And I would say the gospel was one: connect people, just ensuring this people-to-people connection, but also connecting business. How can Rwanda and Africa in general do business with the Caribbean? One of the biggest issues people talk about, which shouldn't be a reason today, is the geographical distance. But we see this shouldn't be a very big issue in terms of people-to-people connection, and Rwanda is trying to make that easier. Mm-hmm. One of the issues that the president talked about in people-to-people connection was to ease movement of people, and one aspect was promoting tourism between the regions, between Rwanda and the Caribbean, between Africa and the Caribbean. And Rwanda has made a step forward in this regard. Most of these Caribbean countries don't need a visa to come to Rwanda. So there is a visa waiver for people coming from these regions to Rwanda. And so we saw a reciprocity in this regard, with most of Caribbean countries also removing visas for Rwandans. So this is a way to promote people to people. But also the other important thing was to leverage the benefits of technology to see the possibilities, in promoting collaboration, particularly with, exchange of knowledge and experience. One of the aspects that the president talked about was exchange of experts. We have our knowledge as Rwandans and as Africans. There is some knowledge on the side of the Caribbean, and we believe that with exchange of this knowledge and collaboration, there is much either sides can benefit. So with the president visit, a number of MOUs were signed to improve people-to-people connection, government-to-government, but also business-to-business connections.
What I find, thank you so much for putting it that way, but what I find with a lot of high commissions that I speak to, a lot of the language is very aspirational, and no one is actually speaking to the tangible things that they're doing. So, for example, you correctly put it, the time frame in which your president traveled, which compared to now being in 2024, heading towards 2025 first quarter, the question is, what has been done now? Now, I know one of the things that the High Commissioner of Rwanda yesterday spoke about was the aspiration to create travel. You have Rwanda Airways, and it's state owned. Why are you not actually doing the work? you guys could make the decision tomorrow, but it's not being done.
Yeah, I think everything follows some steps and processes. Actually, during presidential visits, one of the sector that was discussed was negotiating bilateral air service agreements between these countries. This is like the first step. And then the next step maybe will be checking the routes, the possibilities. But we are looking forward to Rwanda Air extending its flights even to the Caribbean. I cannot say when, but that is the vision. That is the aspiration.
You get my point, though.
But
it's mainly aspirational.
But even without Rwanda Air, we have begun to see movements taking place. We have seen people coming from the Caribbean all the way to Rwanda. Go to Rwanda, to Kigali.
Yeah, you will find they come via the UK, which takes money away from the Rwanda.
I mean, they may not be coming from UK.
Well, they have to connect through Heathrow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying everything takes steps and the process. So we are looking forward to getting there. But before we get there, should we sit back and say nobody should move? No. Use the available routes today, while more other convenient routes come up in the future. We have seen people from Barbados, from Jamaica. If you go to Kigali, you will find some restaurants owned by Jamaicans, some business owned by people from Barbados. So this is an indication that there is something big coming, but there is something already taking place.
I suppose with respect, Joseph, what I'm trying to get to is, what is the actual work, Mr. First Counsellor? What is the actual work beyond just how it benefits, Kigali tourism and how it makes Kigali look good? It's symbolic, yes. I mean, it's important for us to have, inter-travel. But how does this impact duality in terms of economic benefits for both the Caribbean and as well as Africa? Where is the duality? What's the bigger goal, and where are we towards that big goal?
When there is tourism, when there is business, of course, there is a big contribution to the economy of any country. If you look at...
but currently it's one-sided.
It is not.
How many Rwandese people are traveling to the Caribbean?
I cannot say how many, but we have begun to see some people exploring business and tourism in the Caribbean.
Okay, fair.
Some people are having their holidays in the Bahamas. There is this movement.
But from Rwanda?
Yeah, from Rwanda. Okay. But what I'm trying to say that if this tourism really picks up and this business picks up, this is the jewelry you are talking about. This is the contribution to the economy. And what I'm saying is that we cannot get there in a day. What we are trying to do is just making aware of what we have in Rwanda. And we meet people in the Caribbean telling us what they have. So what does each side have to offer? And we are confident that the future will be not more about knowledge about the region, but real business flowing between the two countries.
But tell me something, and Kigali does have a lot of influence within the continent. If you look at the Africa Free Trade, if you look at AU, your country does have a lot of sway. What has been your work in terms of from multilateral institutions to sort of support the argument of more greater collaboration between Africa and the Caribbean?
Well, this begins, with what Rwanda has been doing in the region. Rwanda has been a big promoter of regional integration. Then on the continent, we have been a big advocate for ACFTA. This is the Continental Free Trade Agreement on the entire continent. And then at the continental level, Rwanda has been a big promoter for collaboration beyond the continent with other regions, with the Caribbean, with the Asian countries, with Europe and others. So for your information, our president was the chair of the Reform Committee of the African Union. And one of the aspects was not only building internal strength for Africa, but also building partnerships, meaningful partnerships with African countries and other regions. So Rwanda is doing its bit in promoting all this in benefit of other countries in all areas, in trade, people to people, business to business. So we are doing our bit and we are making our contribution.
So what is your parting shot? What would be your parting shot to a lot of the Caribbean businesses, the academics in the Caribbean community that are eager to see trade between Africa and the Caribbean community actually happen tangibly? What would be your parting shot?
One aspect and one part that I have to play personally as a government officer is to make known what Rwanda has to offer to these people. Rwanda has a lot to offer to these people, whether skilled, whether potential investors, whether, anybody in their sectors. First of all, information is important. So what we do at the mission is sharing this information and making them aware of what Rwanda has to offer. Secondly, we facilitate. If you intend to move in Rwanda, we give you all information related to traveling in Rwanda, all visa information, and we tell you it is not required for you to have a visa. You just fly in to Rwanda. And we also facilitate. When you get there, we orient you where to go. You go to Rwanda Development Board, you get all the information, you have your business registered, you return with your certificate, you come back with business.
But Mr. Councillor, you're so efficient at promoting that singular pathway. Why is it that you're not as efficient when it comes to building bilateral trade? That actually means that there's mutual interest here.
Mutual interest is built by either sides. When I do my part and the other part does their part,
you're not telling me what that work is. Surely, are you not talking to these communities? You said your president traveled there.
Absolutely.
What was the outcome? Were there any MOUs signed? Where are we with those MOUs?
There were a number of MOUs signed, and I can. The most important MOU that is signed always at the beginning is political cooperation.
Right.
And then
so this speaks to that political cooperation.
Absolutely. But also we signed MOUs in tourism, promoting tourism, the flow of tourism. Collaboration. We also signed some MOUs in exchange of experts.
This is what we want to hear.
Experts. So these MOUs are there.
Yeah.
And for us as technicians is to follow up on the implementation.
But Councillor, when you're saying it like this, we will think that it's just one-sided. And the other side is not benefiting.
No. An MOU is signed by both countries.
So it's bilateral.
And the content
so
is binding.
There's a bilateral framework that benefits
Absolutely.
both the Caribbean and Africa.
Absolutely.
Now, that's perfect news to me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Right.
Thank you.
Very intriguing discussion with Joseph Kabakeza here, where we are live from Axis, where we were discussing the importance of Caribbean and African trade. And we're able to explore the number of issues practically that are being done and tabled based on the president's visit from Rwanda all the way up to the Caribbean community and the tangible issues that have been touched here. And I'm sure you can read it for yourself. You can find out for yourself by greater interaction with the Rwanda High Commission, where you need greater advice. Thank you for joining us here at SAT Interviews with your host, Farai Muvuti. Take care.